Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, my dear learners. Hope that you are very fine and you watched my previous classes smartly as well as you are connected to with me. My dear learners, this is MD Saiful Islam, an assistant teacher of Madinah High School of Bangladesh and founder of Saiful English Academy as well as Raisha English Private Home. And you are most welcome both of my channels, my dear learners. Hope that you are very fine and you're connected with me. That's today's class. I have been present in front of you with an advertisement, a new class with the reference of my previous classes smartly. And I'm sure changing sentence of simple to complex to compound with the reference of my previous classes. Today's class, I'm trying to show you rule number 10. Rule number 10 in order to equal to is equal to so that is equal to and you'll have to mind that, my dear learners, there is a great connection among them in order to so that and so. But three tenses are used in three categories of sentence. In order to is used in a simple sentence, so that is used in a complex sentence, and so is used in a compound sentence, my dear learners. And with the reference of these relationships or connections, I have written a simple sentence. So, my dear learners, take a look at the board and try to understand. I want to say that, my dear learners, it's a simple sentence because this sentence has two parts. Two parts. One part, we go to school. Another part is in order to gain knowledge. Take a look at the board and try to understand. In this sentence, there is a principal clause, there is a principal clause and a phrase. And a phrase. Suppose you are trying to change these categories of sentence into a complex sentence. My dear learners, in this case, what steps should we take, my dear learners? You'll have to mind that, my dear learners, there are two clauses in a complex sentence, one principal clause and one subordinate clause. Already, there is a principal clause here. Now, you'll have to form another subordinate clause from the phrase. Now, my dear learners, before forming subordinate clause, you'll have to mind that word frequency of subordinate clause. You will have to mind that, my dear learners, the main frequency of our subordinate clause, at first you'll have to use subordinate conjunction, then subject, then finite verb, and then extension. My dear learners, in this case, to form such categories of sentence into a complex sentence, you'll have to form a subordinate clause from the phrase. Okay, my dear learners, so start writing the answer. My dear learners, at first you'll have to write principal clause. Here, principal clause, we go to school. Okay, my dear learners, it's a principal clause. It's a principal clause. Now, my dear learners, try to form a subordinate clause. At first, to write subordinate conjunction. Here, in this case, you'll have to use subordinate conjunction. So that so there, then write subject. Of course, so you know that, my dear learners, so there is not a subject in a phrase, and you'll have to bring the subject from the principal clause. Subject of principal clause is that, my dear learners, boy. Okay, my dear learners, in this case, after writing subordinate clause, you'll have to write can, may, could, might. Okay, my dear learners, you have to mind that if v one form of verb is used in a principal clause, you will have to use can oblique may. Can oblique may, but if v2 form of verb is used in a principal clause, you'll have to use could or might. So in this case, you'll have to use can or may. Can, we're gonna write can, then, my dear learners, verb from the phrase gain extension knowledge. Okay, my dear, let's hope that you have understood clearly. Already, we have formed subordinate clause from the phrase. The subordinate clause is that, my dear learners, so that we can gain knowledge. So that we can gain knowledge. It's, of course, a subordinate clause. And according to the frequency of complex sentence, you'll have to mind that, my dear learners, there are two clauses named your principal clauses, clause and subordinate clause in a complex sentence. And already, such categories of simple sentence must be changed into a complex sentence of that. You have understood clearly. Medial suppose your child to change the statement into a compound sentence. So, medial what categories should you take? Medial in this case, of course, you know that the main precondition of a compound sentence, there are two principal clause joined together coordinating conjunction. Coordinating conjunction. Hence, there is a principal clause in this sentence. So you'll have to form another principal clause from the phrase. But in this sketch, you'll have to write the principal clause from the phrase at first, the beginning of the statement. So, that's what is the main precondition of a principal clause. At first, you'll have to use subject. Of course, you know that, my dear learners, there is no subject in our phrase, but you'll have to bring the subject from the principal clause. So, my dear learners, subject of principal clause is OI. In this sketch, we'll have to use can, may, could, or might. Mind that, my dear learners, if the principal clause has a view on form, we'll have to use can or may. So, write can, then write main verb. That means from the non-finite verb into a finite verb. Here, finite verb again, extension of the phrase knowledge. Already we have formed principal clause, but in this case, the clause which is formed from the phrase, you have to write at first beginning of the statement. In this case, my dear learners, now middle of the statement you have to use and so, and and then main principal clause, we go, show, is cool. My dear learners, take a look at the board and try to understand. Already, this sentence must be changed into a compound sentence because, according to the free condition of a compound sentence, you'll have to mind that, my dear learners, there are two principal clauses in a compound sentence which is joined together by coordinating conjunction. And so, hope that you have understood clearly. My dear learners, now I'm trying to write write another example to make you understand. So, my dear learners, take a look at the board and try to understand. We go to mosque so that we may pray to Allah. Maintain. Let's take a look at the board and try to understand. So, this sentence, of course, a complex sentence because this sentence has one principal clause and one subordinate clause. Okay, my dear. Let's suppose you are told to change such categories of sentence into a compound sentence. So, my dear learners, sorry, simple sentence. So, my dear learners, what steps should you check in this case? Of course, you know that here, my dear learners, there is a principal clause in a simple sentence. Sometimes it may have a phrases or not. So, my dear learners, hence there is a principal clause here. So, in this case, to form this statement into a simple sentence, you'll have to form a phrase from the subordinate clause. So, my dear learners, write at first principal clause, we go to mosque. Okay, my dear, let's in this sketch I will have to use in order to or infinitive to infinitive to but to form a phrase such kinds of from the subordinate clause you'll have to delete so that subject can, may, could, might, and then you'll have to use verbs and extension of this subordinate clause. Okay, Major, let's already this sentence must be changed into a simple sentence. Okay, Major, let's suppose your child to form systems of statement into a compound sentence. My dear learners, what's that should you try, my dear learners? Hence, there is a principal clause and a subordinate clause in this statement. That means in a complex sentence, especially in this case. To form such of statement into a compound sentence, you'll have to change the subordinate clause into a principal clause. But in this case, you'll have to write the principal clause at first. My dear learners, in this case, to form the principal clause, you'll have to use at first subject so that our subject O, then you'll have to write can, may, could, might, hence, may has in this case, O, may, then extension, frame, show, alarm, then write and so middle of the statement, and then write the principal clause. O, go, show, must. Okay, then let's hope that you have understood clearly. Already, this sentence has been changed into a compound sentence because this sentence is mixed with the two principal clause the answer, and another sentence is mixed with in order to. Okay, then let's hope that you have understood clearly. My dear learners, now I'm trying to write another example to make you understand. So, my dear, let's take a look at the board and try to understand. Oi, 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 wanted to get a job and oi, oin, show that okay, my dear, let's take a look at the board and try to understand. So, this sentence offers a compound sentence because this sentence has two principal clause joined together by coordinating conjunction and suppose your child to change this sentence into a simple sentence. So, my dear learners, what steps should you check? In this case, you'll have to mind that, my dear learners, at first you'll have to write the second principal clause first of the statement. O, on, cho, Dhaka. Middle of the statement, you'll have to write in order. True, of course, you may write infinitive true. Infinitive true. Then you'll have to change the principal clause into a phrase, and for this you'll have to delete subject wanted to. Then write verb get get extension a job. Okay, my dear learners, already this sentence has been changed into a simple sentence of that you have understood clearly. My dear learners, suppose you are told to change the statement into a complex sentence. So, my dear learners, what steps should you take in this case? My dear learners, of course, you know that there are two clauses in a complex sentence: one principal clause and one subordinate clause. In this case, my dear learners, to form suspense of statement into a complex sentence, you have to write principal clause at first, second principal clause at first. So write down second principal clause oin cho Dhaka. Okay, my learners. Now you'll have to you'll have to form a subordinate clause. Subordinate clause from the first principal clause. From the first principal clause, and to form a subordinate clause from the first principal clause, you'll have to write so that at first, so that then first principal clause. We wanted in this case, left to right, left to use could or might, then right verb, then extension, job. Okay, my dear learners, already you can see that, my dear learners, this sentence must be changed into a complex sentence because this sentence has one principal clause and one subordinate clause of that you have understood clearly. My dear Leonards, what's the summary of today's class? I know that you will be able to reply my questions, but I want to summarize today's class. In this class, my dear Leonards, I'm trying to show you about relationship three items. That means in order to, then, so that, then, and so. Okay, my dear learners, in order to, sorry, is used in a simple sentence, so that is used in a complex sentence, and so is used in a compound sentence. And what's steps should you take to change the substance of relationship at the time of changing any sentence from simple to complex to compound? So, my dear learners, hope that you have understood clearly. My dear learners, I don't want to learn into this class, but I want to suggest to you that, my dear learners, you'll have to practice more and more. You'll have to watch my video classes more and more and practice more and more. You'll have to mind that, my dear learners. Practice makes a man perfect. So, my dear learners, no more to them, and come to see you again with a new arrangement, a new class. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.